following content is brought to you by Social Inform Media. The story comes to us from CNN.com. Look at this, guys. It's a mouse. It's a remote control. It's black. Could be a vape pen. Well, that's what happened. Where protests and calls for justice are increasing at Ohio's Capitol after the recent police killing of an unarmed black man, which bluntly signaled the continuation of years of racial inequality and strained relationships with law enforcement. Donovan Lewis was in bed around 2 a.m. last Tuesday when he was shot to death by a Columbus police officer who was attempting to serve a felony warrant in the apartment building, according to police. Columbus Police Chief Elaine Bryant has said the officer Ricky Anderson opened fire as it appeared Lewis was holding something in his hand. He had something in his hand. The officer had to shoot. Well, Elaine Bryant is saying a vape pen was later found next to Lewis on the bed. He was holding a vape pen. So what did the cop do? Shoots him. Is that the TV? Yeah, you had to see that. You know what I'm saying? These cops are not taking time. I know you get, well, they only have seconds. They could get shot. Well, you know what? They chose to do the job. Now we're talking, he was shot in a bedroom. Why couldn't the officer just kind of go around the corner and say, I think he's holding something in his hand? No, he just shoots him dead. I'm sorry, but you guys chose to do the job. The only thing is you get to be incompetent on the job and shoot an unarmed guy, shoot a guy holding a vape pen and go, I thought it was a gun. Well, okay. Good for you. A surgeon kills somebody, they get sued for malpractice. A cop shoots somebody wrongly. Well, he thought it was a gun. Rex Elliott, an attorney for the Lewis family, said how many more lives are going to be lost to this type of reckless activity? How many more young black lives will be lost? Now, Donovan Lewis joins a growing list of black people killed in law enforcement encounters in the city of almost 900,000 people. Casey Goodson Jr. was shot in 2020 when he was entering his home. 16-year-old Micaiah Bryant was outside in her foster home in 2021. And Andre Hill was walking toward an officer in 2020 holding an illuminated cell phone in his hand. Andre Hill was murder. I'm sorry, it was. Or maybe it was manslaughter. We'll go that. And he wasn't even committing a crime. He was waiting on his friends to come home and let him in the house. He was a house guest. Now, Micaiah Bryant, I'm trying to remember, is that the one that was going to stab the girl? I could be wrong, but that sounds familiar. I think I did I know I did a story on Micaiah Bryant. But those are the people that also were shot by police. Andre Hill, though, out of all those, is the biggest tragedy. The biggest tragedy. Innocent man waiting for his friends to come home. Because he has a cell phone, he gets shot. I think the officer did get charged, though, right? I think so. Anyway, I move on. Data collected by Mapping Police Violence, a non-profit group that tracks police shootings in the United States, shows at least 14 black people, mostly men, have been shot to death by officers with the Columbus Division of the police in the past 5 years. That's almost 3 a year. One shy of 3 a year in just Columbus, Ohio, just by that one police department. I don't know, it's a lot. Now the story goes down from there. It's pretty lengthy. I will put a link to it in the description box as always. But they talk to different people and they talk about what's going on there. They talk about the racial protests in 1968. Somebody recalls that. He says, I grew up not wanting to be around police officers, thinking they were out to do you harm. And that was 1968. That was in Ohio, of all places. So, yeah, it's... they're saying this is still the same. You know, the young black men are being profiled still almost 60 years later. 54 years later, they're still being profiled by the police. And I don't know, maybe they're not being profiled. But it seems kind of weird that cops are just shooting people for whatever. Guy holding a vape pen. Andre Hill holding a cell phone.